Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, we have everything you need to know from this year's Little 500 races. And the Indiana baseball team hosted in-state rival Ball State at Bart Kaufman Field. This is Hoosier Sports Night. Welcome into Hoosier Sports Night. I'm your host, Maxwell. We're glad you could join us. We have a great show for you. So let's start off with some of the biggest news on the campus. With the 100th overall running in the books, the Little 500 this weekend provided fans with emotional finishes and record-setting performances. Our reporters Michael Tilka and Meredith Strewing took us behind the scenes of the greatest college weekend in America.
One day in April has officially come and gone, and a name the entire Indiana student body is familiar with is now a Little 500 champion once again. After qualifying in second place a few weeks ago, Teeter has won the 32nd running of the women's race, making it their fourth title in program history. Although most of the windy afternoon wasn't about Teeter, it was about Ski, who had a 20-second lead at one point during the race and came in with the fastest qualifying time before finishing in third place behind Teeter and runner-up Delta Gamma. But the rest of the field, Teeter included, knew that a clear mindset would allow for that 20-second gap to close.
We just stayed calm and then worked with some of the other teams and we got there. We just 110% until we got there.
As for freshman Corinne Miller, her first Little 500 is now one that she won't forget about anytime soon.
It was just amazing to be part of it, and I'm on a team with some incredible people, and I'll remember this day forever.
With Teeter as your women's Little 500 champions, allow me to turn it over to Meredith Strewing, who has the recap of everything in the men's race.
Thanks, Michael. What started as a wide-open race ended with the famous Cutters team earning their 14th program title. It was sprinter Noble Guyon who crossed the finish line when Phi Psi opted for a late exchange.
That exchange ended up being absolutely crucial to the race finish. I think Phi Psi's guy was really hurting, so I'm not really sure that he could have done much damage if he had stayed on the bike.
With just 5 laps to go, Guyon mounted his bike to try and take over the healthy lead that Phi Kappa Psi had in the race over both the Cutters and Black Key Bulls. This year, Gray Goat took 4th place while Black Key Bulls earned their program's 4th third place finish. It was Bears' team who came in 2nd place, less than 0.3 of a second behind Cutters. The Cutters have the most wins in Little 500 history with 14 titles. They've only ever placed outside of the top 10 on 2 occasions, in the 1995 and 2003 races, and have been racing for 35 years. The Cutters treat this title with just as much excitement as their last 13, and they share it with the people who have become family to them.
This has been one of the most incredible days of my life, and this is my rookie year, first Little 500 race, so I just can't even begin to express my gratitude toward those guys for trusting me with this. It feels amazing to carry on such an incredible legacy and an amazing family.
For Hoosier Sports Night, I'm Meredith Strewing.
Next year's Little 500 race is set for April 24th and 25th, 2020. On Tuesday night, the IU baseball team hosted in-state foe Ball State for a midweek matchup. Our Austin Matricardi has more on the dominant performance the Hoosiers saw on the mound.
It was a huge offensive performance for the Hoosiers on Tuesday. They put up 14 runs in the win over Ball State, but one of the key parts of the victory in the midweek matchup was the guy on the mound, left-handed sophomore Tommy Sommer. Sommer made his first start since returning from an injury, and he was better than ever. He struck out a career-high 10 batters over 6 innings of work, allowing just 2 runs on 4 hits. The return of the southpaw has been a big boost for the Hoosiers, giving them some stability in the midweek role, something they lacked during his absence.
It's been huge for us to have Tommy back. You know, when you have injuries and you have to kind of work your way through those things, you have guys that have to step up and handle it. But to have Tommy back is a huge shot in the arm.
Possibly the most impressive part of the performance from Sommer was that he did it without relying on a breaking pitch. Early in the game, it wasn't working for him, so he worked with his fastball and changeup for the bulk of the evening. Mercer also praised Sommer for his maturity and composure, but that was something he didn't need to step on the mound to display. Throughout the season, even when he wasn't healthy, he's been working off the field as a leader.
Behind the scenes, Tommy is a great pitching coach. He's worked a lot with Austin Long and with McCade Brown, and he's a great leader. That's just how you do some things is how you do everything. And that's why Tommy is excellent.
Summer's work on Tuesday ensured that the Hoosier bullpen will be rested and ready to go this weekend when they travel to Michigan State for a 3-game series. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Austin Matricardi.
The first pitch between the Hoosiers and Spartans on Friday will be at 6:35 p.m. IU ace Paulie Milto will get the ball to start the weekend. Just next door, the Indiana softball team is preparing for a 3-game series of their own as they'll head to Madison, Wisconsin to face the Badgers this weekend. The Hoosiers' offense exploded for 2-run rule victories this past weekend against Maryland, while the pitching stayed consistent and locked in as usual, with recent National Pro Fast Pitch draftee Tara Traynor leading the way. Indiana will need some of the same this weekend as both sides of the ball as they face Wisconsin at a critical point for both teams' Big Ten and NCAA tournament hopes. Wisconsin and Indiana find themselves 39th and 40th in the latest NCAA RPI polls, dangerously close to the bubble for either side. And while the Hoosiers have one more win on the season, the Badgers have the better record in the Big Ten, sitting at 7-5, as opposed to Indiana's 6-8. With 249 runs scored and a .303 team batting average, Wisconsin's high-powered offensive attack poses a challenge for the Hoosiers. For head coach Shonda Stanton, the key to success this weekend is to fight back when they find themselves in danger of falling behind.
Offensively, you got to swing the sticks with them. This is a weekend where you got to be able to score one more run than your opponent. You got to keep throwing punches. If they throw a punch, you can't let it knock us out. And I think our ball club's done a good job of that all year, where somebody's throwing a punch, we throw a punch back. But we really got to start landing some of those jabs that hurt.
The first pitch of the series is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Friday. Senior weekend for IU women's tennis is right around the corner. As the regular season comes to a close, Madison Appel and Natalie Whalen will be honored in what will be their final home matches. I had the opportunity to sit down with Madison Appel about the upcoming matches and her final season at Indiana in the second edition of Tennis to the Max. Welcome back to the IU Tennis Center. I'm Maxwell Glenn. Today I'm talking to Madison Appel in the second edition of Tennis to the Max. Thank you for joining me, Madison.
Thank you for having me.
So now this weekend is senior weekend. What kind of emotions come with that milestone?
It's honestly really crazy. I've had a lot of experiences with senior day, just not for myself, obviously. So to think that it's here now is just insane. I've waited 4 years and now it's here. And obviously I'm going to be really emotional, but it hasn't hit me yet. But I know it will hit me on Sunday.
And so now heading into it, is it what you expected or is it kind of different than what you thought?
I think I'm a little calmer than what I thought I'd be. But then again, it isn't Sunday, so I'm not sure. I know once my family and my boyfriend, everyone gets here, I think I'll be a little bit more emotional. So probably starting Friday, I think I'll feel like it's more senior day. But I'm okay right now, honestly. Natalie and I have talked about it, but we're fine right now, supposedly. So, right now I'm fine, honestly.
Well, now looking back, is there one moment that just kind of stands out to you in your career?
There's definitely a few moments. When Kim was here, my freshman, sophomore year, we had a really good season of doubles. We played all of sophomore year, so we had a really good run. We beat #1 team in the country from Kentucky. We got up to top 20 in the country. We just did a really good job, overall. We had a few incidences where we just got cut and we didn't get to finish. So, that kind of jumbled the whole thing up, our whole plan, I guess, to go to NCAAs. So, we had a good run, but I wish we had gotten a little more chances. And then another moment would be when I clinched against Purdue my sophomore year. That was also a really big moment in my college career. So those two really stand out to me the most.
Now, kind of getting deeper into that reflection, do you think you've accomplished everything that you wanted to coming here?
I've definitely accomplished a lot. I don't think I ever thought I'd play 4 years in a row. So in that sense, I think I've accomplished a lot. There's obviously goals that I set that I feel like I haven't exactly reached. So. And I don't think that's me not working harder, me not doing as well. I just think sometimes opportunities come and they go, and sometimes for me didn't come. But overall, I think I have accomplished everything I've wanted to in college. So
And so now you and Natalie have such big roles on this team. There were a couple signings in the past few weeks. How does the team fill roles so big as yours?
I think it's just about stepping up to the plate and knowing that like someone's got to take control and there has to be rules and a balance between having fun and being serious and having a good time on the court and off the court. And I think there comes a time on a team where you kind of feel like that's you. And for Natalie and I, that kind of started last year for us. So we kind of have a 2-year role as part of this leadership role, I guess. And so for that, I mean, we knew we had to step up last year, so we did. And coming this year, it felt a lot more comfortable and a lot more fun. And for us, it's not really anything that we stress about. It's just something that we've stepped into, and we have like a really good time doing it.
And they used to talk about like stepping up. Do you know if there's a player that you think is going to step up once you guys are graduated?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see, you know, Caitlin, Jelly, and Michelle stepping up. I mean, seeing their transition from last year to this year even, I've noticed a lot of like changes in their leadership roles, and I hope that they take what Natalie and I have done and kind of put it in their own perspective and have their own type of way of leading the team. But yeah, those three I can definitely see stepping up. Obviously, Caitlin is going to be the next senior and the lone senior, I think, with Anna. And so I think in that sense, Caitlin will do a good job trying to lead this team next year.
I asked Natalie the same question. You guys are graduating. What's next for you?
You know, it's really up in the air. There's times where I want to play professional, and then there's this other side of me that really wants to move to LA. I'm from New York, so I've always wanted to move to LA, surprisingly. And I really am into the entertainment industry. I'd like to get back into it, but it's kind of up in the air right now. But those are the two routes, both very different routes, but those are the two routes that I would be going in.
You guys are heading into the home stretch here. Is there something you want to accomplish personally in these last few matches?
I just want to play good tennis, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to look for certain results. I've had a great season so far, and for me, it's just going to be playing the best tennis I can before I leave. And, you know, if this ends up being over for me, tennis, after, you know, Big Tens or NCAAs, then, I mean, I hope I'm playing the best tennis that I've ever played in my life. So that's kind of my goal for the next 2 weeks.
What are your expectations for the team heading into those weeks?
I think we're pretty confident going into this weekend. I mean, we're favored on paper for these matches. I mean, they're not going to be easy matches, but we definitely are favored. We came off the road last weekend playing really good tennis, so we're pretty confident going into these matches. We're confident going to the Big Ten tournament, having hopefully a winning record and put us at a pretty good seed, and hopefully win a couple rounds of the Big Ten tournament and see where we end up.
Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
For iOS TV Sports, I'm Maxwell Glenn. Senior weekend kicks off on Saturday as the Hoosiers host Rutgers at the IU Tennis Center at 11 a.m. It all wraps up Sunday as Indiana faces Maryland in their final regular season match. The men's tennis team had a busy weekend as they took on Nebraska on Friday and then Iowa and St. Louis on Sunday. But the main focus was on Senior Day. The men's tennis team celebrated Senior Day in between their Sunday matches, honoring Antonio Sembain for the 4 years he has given to the program. Sembain is the only senior on this year's team and has played in the #1 single spot all season. He will leave Indiana with over 75 career wins, capped off by 2 more singles victories over the weekend.
The 4 years is just one moment, right? It's been a pleasure, and I couldn't be happier and more sad at the same time for leaving. But it's, as I said, it's been a pleasure to be here, and I enjoyed it as much as I could.
The Hoosiers picked up 3 team victories over the weekend and will try to keep the wins coming versus number 34 Penn State on April 19th and on April 21st versus number 1 Ohio State. When Hoosier Sports Night continues, the Indiana football team was back in action for some spring ball. And the women's golf team headed north to West Lafayette for the Lady Boilermaker Classic. You're watching Hoosier Sports Night. The IU football team took the field for the annual Cream and Crimson game. Two of the three quarterbacks on the roster appeared for some spring football action, but only one will be named the starter. Peyton Ramsey, Michael Penix Jr., and Jack Tuttle are currently battling it out for the spot. Our IUS TV sports crew was there to cover it. Ramsey and Penix were the two quarterbacks who played in the spring game, while Tuttle sat out with an illness. Penix saw limited action playing in the 7-on-7 drills between quarters due to his recovery from his knee injury last October. But it was Ramsey who took the spotlight. He saw the most work in the game, throwing for almost 300 yards and a touchdown. Ramsey led an aerial and ground assault as he took the option to run during the game. In his post-game interview, head coach Tom Allen described what he's looking for from the QB battle.
All three of them have got to be able to throw that football down the field. That's going to be a big part of us being able to take those quality shots that are going to help us. And it's going to be creating other plays. It's things underneath, and then it's about explosive plays. Whether the ball is thrown down the field or whether it's across the middle and then get the extra yards, those are all part of it as well.
Ramsey said that he's used to being in a quarterback competition and feels both comfortable and excited for the battle. We'll have to wait until the start of next season to see who lands the starting role. The next time you see the Hoosiers back in Memorial Stadium, it will be on September 7th in the home opener versus Eastern Illinois. The Indiana women's golf team recorded its first tournament win since the IU Invitational in 2017. The Hoosiers won the Lady Boilermaker Classic, shooting a combined 4 under par in the second straight tournament that was shortened due to weather. Sophomore Mary Parsons earned Big Ten Golfer of the Week honors following her first collegiate win, shooting 8 under par from the tournament. Parsons was all over the record book, tying her own single-round record of 66, and also set a school record for total score through 36 holes, shooting a 136. The Hoosiers will be back on the course April 19th through the 21st in Maineville, Ohio, as they compete in the Big Ten Championship. The men's golf team also made a stop in West Lafayette for the Boilermaker Invitational. The team finished 13th out of 18 teams after the third round was canceled due to weather. Mitch Davis led the team, going 3 under on the weekend, and Brock Oxenrider was right behind him at 1 under to round out the only Hoosier under par. Next up is the Hawkeye Invitational in Iowa City. That tournament will begin on April 20th and continue through April 21st. After that, it's the Big Ten Championship in Philadelphia, starting April 26th. Well, that does it for our show this week. Don't forget to like our page, IUS TV Sports, on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at IUS TV Sports. For the entire production crew here behind me at IUS TV Sports, I'm Maxwell Glenn. We'll see you next week on Hoosier Sports Night season finale.